Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to our show. We have gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the multiverse, two of the nerdiest geeks to be found. We proudly present the professor and her geeky girlness herself, Ace. And now it's time. GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 26 of GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace. I am the professor, and we've got Ace over here. There she is.
Hi.
She's back with us this week after a week off last week because of work. That crazy thing.
I mean, yeah, I've just been doing so... I've been so busy at work, it's not even funny. I don't have time to breathe. Like, when I'm not at work, I'm here, and people are like, oh, yeah, but you're here, but I'm homeschooling, or the plumbing went out in the kitchen last week, the car's been broke down, so I haven't had a break. I would really like one.
A break would be helpful. I agree.
I want to win Powerball, but I have to play. Like, that's my only... So I'm like, yeah.
Well, I've played a few times, and I keep winning a loss of my money to pay for the ticket. So...
Yeah.
Well, you know, so last week, by the way, we had a really good episode. Sorry you weren't able to be here with us. And just to remind people,
Damien and Michelle, right?
Yeah, Damien and Michelle were both on. Yes, they did a great job. Just to remind people, their Kickstarter still has 2 more days left. If you have not gone out for the Kickstarter for Pray They Stand Down, please check that out and do that. You can check the links from last week's episode for that. It's a very great cause. That will be a movie that will be very helpful to a lot of people. You guys should check it out if you haven't yet to help support them, because it's basically an all or nothing for that $30,000. If they don't hit the mark, then they don't get that money, and they can't help. Yeah. So it's a lot of money, but you guys can go out and help get those last minute helps in there, and you can get your name in the movie and all this other stuff. So if you guys can, check that out for Kickstarter. Tonight we're going to have Monster Mash, probably part 1. We're talking about maybe making 2 parts because...
So hard.
Well, and even we decided to divide it up classic and modern because there's so much out there that's great. And even with that, it was difficult to do. So we're going to focus on the classic. If we have time, we're going to switch over and do our modern day ones. I'm not holding my breath for it because I know how we are. And I looked at our list and went, oh boy. So it could work. So hang on tight. We may be going fast. If we don't, then we are going to schedule another one before next week's episode. So we'll have a second episode in between, because next week we're doing a special, exactly, a Halloween special.
Yes.
GeekyKOOL presents a Halloween special, Monster Mash Part 2. Because next week we're talking scary movies.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm already scared for it.
I know. You're not a really big scary movie. You like suspense and you like grab you, but yeah.
Yes.
As you can see, like behind me, that this house is all about horror. So it's not all mine. This is all Spoo's. It's his boxes from his NECA figures and stuff he decorated the wall with. But no, it was really hard narrowing down those monster movies. I love classic monsters.
Me too.
I did not put some of them on the list that are actually some of my favorites, but it's because I've already talked about them in previous episodes when we talked about our favorite movies from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And so I wanted to give you guys some more classic, wonderful movies to go watch and stuff. So, yeah.
And I may have included some of those we talked about previously. So, but that's okay. We can handle that. That's all right. That'll recap. The other thing to know with the horror movie thing next week, we're trying to get some people invited in to join us, so that episode may go long. And you know, I realize I do like some horror movies, but it just depends. I'm not a slasher guy, but other types, you know, I see some up there that I'm like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we'll talk about that next week. So that's a little teaser for next week. But let's get started into classic monsters. You know, like the old Monster Mash song. And I will let you kick us off here, AJ.
Okay, so when we say classics, we decided to go 70s and back. But on my modern, I have one from the 70s because it's mid to late 70s. So
Yep.
we're talking, all mine are from 60s back. So
Yep.
let's see. These are not in any particular order because they're all so amazing and I love them all so much. It's like, no, I can't just do like my favorite.
Yep.
But I'm going to start with 1964, and that is Mothra versus Godzilla.
I'm actually surprised that one wasn't higher. That you didn't leave that one for number one, but yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why. Mothra is my favorite Godzilla universe monster.
Yep.
And the new Mothra in the King of Monsters was beautiful, stunning. I mean, my jaw went when she came onto the screen. But I grew up with this classic moth-looking Mothra that was just like furry, and it had the twins attached, so the twins could talk to it. This movie is not. A lot of people don't think it's the best, Godzilla movie from that era. Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of text messages. But it's not like a lot of people don't like it. I picked it because it was my introduction into Mothra. I know there was a movie before this with Mothra, or from a series, but I didn't get to watch it. This was my first Mothra. And so I always feel like your first of something that you end up loving is like very close to your heart.
That's true.
So, 1964 Mothra versus Godzilla. It's does not stand the test of time when it comes to graphics.
Right.
But you have to go into these movies with knowing that, like with the knowledge that it's like the I almost put on like Hercules movies and stuff like that. I love those. Clash of the Titans and all of those from the back in those days. Because I love those, but they didn't quite make my list because I had to narrow it down a little. But you have to look at those movies for what they are.
Right.
And but this one is beautiful. Mothra for the time period was done so well. And the story is just amazing. And I just love the story of Mothra and Godzilla. I love how it's transcended into, a love story now. So
right.
That's my number, like not my number one, but that's my first pick for our classics.
So a question for you: with the new Mothra and the new movie, were you disappointed the twins weren't there?
Okay, so I have, there's the sister, the Asian girl, and don't get me, it's an Asian actress who plays the Asian girl, and she talks about her sister. So, so with that, I think that they were in it. They were just not in it the way that everyone thinks.
Sure.
And I know at the very end of the King of Monsters, they talk about finding a giant egg again. So Mothra's going to be reborn. And I think that Mothra is going to be the one that has the psychic connection with the twins. I feel like that's where they're going to go with. I hope.
Well, I'm real excited. I really like the new Godzilla universe setup, new monster universe, Godzilla, King Kong, all that. And that movie was great. So, and I'm sure we'll talk about that again later. But wanted to, with that, I will actually, let's see, what was my number 5 here? Okay, so my number 5 is one of those that hits. Well, no, that's not my number 5. My number 5 is also on your list. So, this one is The Creature from the Black Lagoon. I love this movie. It's so much fun. Actually, all 3, because there's 2 sequels with it.
Yes.
And they're set up as a trilogy, and I think they're great. They're a lot of fun. I love, especially the first one. I love how he continues to come up and he's almost kind of searching for things, but he's kind of like the big thing in the area. And so he's kind of surprised when these people are stuck there in his lagoon and all that. Yep. And it's just a really cool movie. And I love how he shows how intelligent he is by blocking him from leaving a couple of times. Right. And as they're trying to leave at the end, right.
He's in love with Kay. He wants
He's
Kay.
in exactly.
Judy Adams plays Kay in it. The thing I loved about The Creature of Black Lagoon, and it's one of my favorites of all time, is one, it's considered the last monster introduction in the Universal monsters. It was the last one of those, the monsters, your traditional monsters. But it was not the same type of monster. All the other monsters before that are well, you have Dracula, you have the Phantom, you have these, and they consider themselves like they're human, and they consider themselves like high society.
Right.
So they're kind of snobbish. Let's face it, Dracula's a snob. But you also have Frankenstein's monster, Slow. The beauty of The Creature from the Black Lagoon is he was a quick monster. Like swimming wise, he's so quick. And so when he
we lost you there for a second, Ace. You're back.
Yeah. But The Creature from the Black Lagoon is just super fast. And when he attacks, it's not just this slow, mundane, cinematic thing that happens. Right. I think the grandfather to like the quick attacks that happen in a lot of horror movies today.
Right.
It's a grab ya. He was like the first monster that did the grab ya, the quick, you don't know what just grabbed you and took you in, like major monsters. Of course, there were like the B movie monsters that did it, but the major monsters, and that's what I love about him.
And I love some of those B movie monster movies too. So
God, I could just make a list of B movies. Like the B movie monsters almost made some list, and
yeah. I'm with you. You were also talking about the movies like Hercules and stuff, and I remember Sinbad, the Voyages of Sinbad.
Oh my gosh, that movie is hilarious now, but it's wonderful. And I on my modern list, and you know this, I have one that's like not a good movie, but it's one that is a monster movie.
Right.
And I love it. And that's the thing, is it's just about the movies we love. They can be cheesy, they can be funny, and you just have to look at the movies for what they are. So
exactly. Well, and there's nothing wrong with cheesy if you know that's what you're going to get.
Right.
I love a good cheesy movie. I love watching those bad sci-fi channel movies that were on there for a while.
Are you talking about like Sharktopus?
Yes, I'm talking like Sharktopus and Sharknado and all of those.
We watched Sharktopus versus something the other day. I can't remember what it was. It was hilarious.
Yeah. As long as you take it for what it is. And there's one that had Tiffany versus Debbie Gibson in it, which I thought was just hysterical.
Yes, that's actually, I think that's the one we were watching.
Oh, that may have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was like, yay! Oh.
Yeah, which, for those that don't know who Tiffany and Debbie Gibson is, check out the 80s. All right. So, all right, that was mine, and I know because I stole one of yours here, but go ahead with your next one, Ace.
Okay, so let's see here. We're going to go with 1931. And it has Boris Karloff. I love Boris Karloff, and I've talked about it. This one I put on this list. I did discuss it in another one, and it's Frankenstein.
Yep.
The reason this one gets on my list is, one, Frankenstein is the classic monster.
Yeah.
He's not human. He's living dead. He's pieces put together. He is the quintessential classic monster. Mary Shelley wrote this story. Basically on an outing with friends, and they were telling scary stories, and she wrote this story, and then it evolved from there. It is the story of a madman. And a lot of the times when people talk about Frankenstein, they think that's the monster, but it's not. The monster in the story is Dr. Frankenstein. Lon Chaney, Boris Karloff, Boris Karloff does such a great job with conveying without actual verbiage the emotion of
yes,
this monster finding humanity,
right,
rebelling against his father or creator, trying to find love and acceptance, and then at the end, eventually, being misunderstood and dying, like being ostracized and martyred. And it's just this story of, my mom always said, don't judge a book by its cover. And,
right.
And Frankenstein was that story. It was you think that you know who the monster is, but it's not. It's not the creature that's scary and big and lumbers around. It's the person who created him. And but it's just one of those classics. The book is amazing. If you haven't read the book by Mary Shelley, it's one of my favorite classic books. And it's just, Boris Karloff does it in a way that it has not been done since. And they've made Frankenstein several times, but he gave it such heart just by his facial expression, under all that makeup, under all that this prosthetics. And it's not like the lightweight prosthetics they have now. Like, this was heavy prosthetics. It's the beginning of prosthetics. And but he still got to emote emotion through his face and through his acting. And I think that's just showcases the amazing actor and range that he had. And this movie was, in my mind, the pinnacle of the Boris Karloff acting ability. So
I'm right there with you. It's an amazing movie. The scene that we flashed up here, the scene with him talking to the little girl.
Yeah, the flowers.
Yeah, the flowers. That just shows you the heart of the character right there. It's an amazing thing. So they made some sequels after that were pretty decent, and some of them weren't quite as decent, but still they were fun. But I want to talk about one, because my next pick, we're going to stick on the Frankenstein thing. Okay. We're going to go at the tail end of the classic era and go with one that it tells the same tale, but it takes a little change of humor to it.
I know. Okay, it almost made my list. I knew it was going to make your list. Gene Wilder. You can't beat him. I'm sorry. Brilliant. And
anything written and directed by Mel Brooks is just a classic. That's the whole cast is great in this movie. It took me forever to realize the guy which plays the Frankenstein monster is actually the father on Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, Frank. He plays Frank.
Yeah. Which is funny that they would call him Frank, right?
I know.
So that.
He's beautiful in it, and he also emotes.
He does,
and it's because it's a comedy. And if you haven't seen it, you should go see it. You should find it on streaming and see it. It is beautiful, funny, and just kooky is all get out. And but he emotes very much like Karloff did.
He did.
When I watched it, you could tell he studied that.
Right.
You could tell that he had actually studied Boris Karloff's Frankenstein, not just from the movements, but from the facial expressions. And yes, he's a comedic actor, and so there's that. But he also emotes in those same little nuances. That's just beautiful.
I agree completely. We've got 4 people watching tonight, so thank you guys for watching. Feel free to add comments. We'll get to them as quick as we can if you want to do that. But yeah, I find that movie. The great thing about that movie is it tells the story, and it sticks really close to the Frankenstein movie that you had. but it throws in jabs of humor in there. Igor is just the best.
Igor. Terry Gar as the girl is just funny. You can't beat Gene Wilder.
Yes, I agree.
I love him, and I love him in his horror spiffs. I love Haunted Honeymoon with Gilda. Oh my God, beautiful done. I love that so much. No, I agree totally. That is one that is on my list of like all-time favorite horror comedies, because there is a genre that's horror comedies.
There is
scary, but it's not quite scary. But then you do get a little. It's like a beautiful mix, and I love that you put that one on there. So cool.
Well, and I think we're going to have a couple of those coming up in part 2, which, you know, like I said, if we get to it tonight, great, and if not, then it's part 2 later. But yes, so all right, what's your next one for us?
My next one is going to be Help Me. It's The Fly from 1958. I love The Fly from the 80s. The remake was beautiful. Jeff Goldblum, need I say more? He's shirtless. He's wonderful, and he's Jeff Goldblum. It's that man. Yeah. But this one has Vincent Price in it.
It does.
And it's a creature film. It is a monster movie, but it also has a great story that is told throughout it, about a couple and what she will do for her husband and how he goes insane, and he just wants to create this perfect experiment and this perfect thing, and you know, it goes really horribly wrong, and then she gets blamed for it. She gets blamed for his death, and it's just this story of love and insanity, and it's done in such a way that's beautiful. It is a little cheesy. Of course, it's the fly. It's a human fly. You can't even Jeff Goldblum's, which was way better in effects because it's, you know, 30 years later.
Right.
It's still cheesy. He's a human fly.
Right.
But when I remember seeing this as a kid, and remember seeing when they go back to the house and Vincent Price and the detective are looking for anything to corroborate her story, and they see a spider web, and they go back and there's the little fly with Andre's arms and his head, and help me, and they then smash it.
Yes, they do.
They do.
Which is kind of eerie and creepy. You're like, what?
Creepy. That part is just. It's kind of like, because it's Vincent Price's brother in the story, and it's this pity. They take pity on this creature. Right. He's gonna get eaten by a spider. First of all, he's gonna get eaten by a spider. He's in a giant spider web. He is a fly. So there's no like no guilt involved in the killing of him. I know that sounds bad, but he's gonna die anyway, and he's a fly. But it's this whole psychological thing that you now killed a man, with a rock. And so I remember watching that, and that ending messed me up as a kid. It is a crazy ending even to see it today. So yeah. But Vincent Price is one of those godfathers of horror. He's one of those classics. He has to get on a list. If you make a horror movie list without either a Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney, or Vincent Price, if you don't have one of those people on your list, you're not watching the right horror movies, period. Right on. So I'm with you. Judgmental. What can I say?
Well, you're not wrong. So
I'm a movie snob.
Yeah, but we pick some movies that, you know, we're not talking Siskel and Ebert snobs. We're talking. You have to check out the classics. You have to know the classics. No, I'm with you. I'm just. So talking about classics, let me pull this one up. This is one that we actually have put on before, but we're going to go back to The Well because it's one of my favorites. And I actually really like the sequels, and I really like the remakes up until the last one. So, and I'm talking about The Mummy. The Mummy, I love The Mummy because there's some supernatural aspects to it. There's the Egyptian mythos that goes along with it. There is a love story that goes in it, and the idea that this person thinks that they're in love with somebody that's been they assume has been reincarnated, but they don't know it. I mean, it's a complex story that holds up really well, and okay, yes, there are problems. The special effects aren't as good as they are today, but it didn't need it. It really didn't need it.
It was. Here's the thing: good storytelling is good storytelling.
Right on.
You can tell a good story with bad effects.
Yep.
You cannot tell a bad story with bad effects without having a bad movie, and that's the difference. That's the difference. So I think a lot of the times, and this is what I get very frustrated with movies now. And this is since the 80s, but mostly since CGI has become such a big, is that it feels lazy. And I know it's not. I know it takes a lot of work to put CGI into a movie. It takes lots of money to put CGI into a movie, but it's the John Wick dog poop. The John Wick dog poop is perfect example of this laziness that has come to some Hollywood productions. They had a dog. They CGI'd poop. It cost them like
why?
thousands of dollars. Like, why? Just wait till the dog goes to the bathroom and film it. Like, it's not that hard of a thing to do. Back then they didn't have that.
Right.
All the special effects were makeup effects. All the special effects were makeup effects, lighting effects. One of the things that, going back to like the Frankenstein and the Mummy, is also in this is the lighting effects. The light and the dark and the shadows played huge parts in these movies.
It did. What was in the shadows?
You could tell the tone of each scene by how much light you had on who you had. And that is a beautiful thing that they don't do as much anymore. Right. And so I love that. That's one of my favorites. So it was. I do.
It had to go on my list just because it's just always there when I think of classic monster movies. The original Mummy, and I really like the Brandon Fraser movies also, but the original one is just so well done, such a good story, and I love it. So it goes on my list. So, all right, what else you got for us?
So I have one more classic. We might get to the moderns today, but we'll still talk about.
How about that?
I have one more classic, and now I've talked about Karloff, I've talked about Vincent Price, and I have talked about Lon Chaney, who I think is basically the reason behind special effects today is Lon. But I want to talk to you about Lon Chaney Jr. And this is 1941's The Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. This movie, it's so great. First of all, you can't talk about monster movies and like your favorite monsters without talking about a werewolf, a wolf man, and that sort of thing. This one though, has a great cast. You have Lon Chaney Jr. playing the Wolfman. You have Claude Rains, and from last time when we talked about 1940s movies that I love some Claude Rains. I love him.
Yes.
I think
yes, you do.
Underrated actors of his time. Like, he wasn't underrated, but people don't remember who he is now.
Right.
But Claude Rains plays his father, and it's really a story about a son trying to reconnect with his father.
Right.
And this has happened to him.
Right.
And so that's not the main part of the story. It's a story about family.
Right.
And that's the great part of this. Technically speaking, this movie did stop motion to do the makeup.
Right.
And when people think of that, they think of like the little claymation stop motion. No, this is human stop motion.
Right.
So Mr. Lon Chaney Jr. had to stand for hours in one position while makeup artists added a little bit of hair to him. They walked away, they filmed him in that one position, did it again, did it again, did it again.
Mhm.
That's how they got that effect. And if you watch it, you can kind of see that stop motion,
Right.
but it makes sense for the time, and it makes the movie have this cinematic drama that hadn't been seen before. So I love that about this movie. I know a lot of people, it bothers them because you can see that stop motion, but I think it makes sense for the transformation.
Well, and I look at it as, see, watching him transform, it's like it's overtaking him. So
Yes.
I look at it more as how he's processing this, that it's taking moments of like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Oh my gosh, I'm turning more. And so I actually feel like that adds to the story. I really like that part.
And you got to think this poor man stood there for
Forever.
We're not talking just a couple hours. I think I read somewhere it was like 10 or more hours for one scene, one take in one spot, basically little tiny movements, little tiny facial expressions, and you can see the pain in his face. And I don't think it was all acting. I think it was standing in one spot, getting makeup.
Right.
Because it's not just about the moment that it's on camera. You have to think he had makeup artists applying this to him while he's standing on stage. He is standing on set, getting little pieces of hair and little bits attached to him. They would walk away and then they would film.
Right.
And then they would cut and they would come back and add a little bit more. The nuances of that and the precision of that is just beyond belief. Lon Chaney Jr. is beautiful in this movie. He has the acting chops of his father. They are not Oscar speaking role type people. Yes, they can speak, and yes, they can act that way. Their acting, it's just like Boris Karloff, comes from the nuances of their facial expressions, their body language, and all of those things. That makes them great. It's not necessarily, they're not Laurence Olivier, giving his great. They are creatures that become they're actors that become creatures, and creatures that become actors, and it's beautiful. So
I agree. That's a great one. That actually was on my extended list there. Did not make it, of course. So I think I've got two more because I did one of yours. Right. So, and one that we've talked about last a couple times ago is also on my list. Here we go. Oh, there we are. So a little King Kong action. How can you go?
He made my list from the 1920s and 30s because
it's
Kong.
Exactly. He's the king.
He is. And it started. Can you imagine if they wouldn't have done that movie?
No.
Like all the movies we would have missed. It's just amazing.
No, you're right. Basically, without it, a lot of the monster movies would have never happened. So I don't want to spend too much time on that because we have talked about that movie quite a bit, but I wanted it in my list because it's King Kong and it's important. But talking about King of Monsters, and you've already hit on him once, I'm going to hit on him again for my number one, Godzilla. Or as the Japanese said, is it Gojira. So
yeah, Gojira.
The original is amazing. I love all the sequels. Every one of them almost went with probably the one that's my favorite of them is Godzilla destroys all the monsters. It has Mothra, it has Rodan, it has all of them in there.
Oh my God, I love that one.
Like 68, 69, almost went with that one, but it kept coming back because I got to have the classic. I got to have the original one that started it all. Because this movie, the great thing about this movie is it's not just talking about monsters. It's actually talking about the scare of the atomic age. Japan had the bomb dropped on them.
Yeah.
What else happening with this atomic age? That the world is changing so quickly, and what are we doing to our environment with this?
So the great thing about Godzilla, and they've touched base on it in the new movies, which I love, is that we don't know why Godzilla exists. Like
Right.
he's a protector. There's now theories that he's the protector and all this stuff. But back in the day, it really was a commentary on what was going on.
Right.
You look at Godzilla, and it's a Japanese movie. It's a Japanese monster. It's this giant monster that comes and destroys cities. Very much so about the atomic bomb. I mean, there were two.
Right.
Like Hiroshima is gone.
Right.
Like there are still shadows burnt into like the sidewalk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there are still things. There are still aspects of it, and to them, there are these. It was a giant monster that destroyed the city.
Right.
This is
right.
just it. These stories are a way for storytellers to put their fears about what was really going on into entertainment. No, I love it. And a lot of people don't understand that about Godzilla. They see a giant monster, which is great. He's beautiful. He's fun. He's scary. He's just like this thing that you can't control. But that's the point of it. A lot of the times that part gets lost. It is that point of there was things going on that they couldn't control, and they had to put a face on it.
Right.
And
That's exactly right. The interesting thing is really one of the interesting things is in this movie. The movie's about him, but he's definitely the bad guy. I mean, he's just going through destroying Tokyo, and so his character really kind of evolves, and it's more of a almost like a hurricane. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It just is, and it can bring destruction, but can also do some good things. So it's just interesting because as the movies go, he becomes more of the hero of those movies, of the sequels, but not always.
No.
Like Mothra, Godzilla versus Mothra. Mothra was the hero, and Godzilla was not. Yeah. But then they team up at a later point. So I mean, it's interesting.
And the thing is like I always tell people, and I was just teaching this today, like prairie ecosystems, and one of the most important things about a prairie ecosystem is fire. And a lot of people don't realize that, and they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" Because I just had to explain this to a 9-year-old. Godzilla is the fire of the ecosystem.
Right.
Sometimes you have to destroy things so they don't get too big, so that there's space for everything to live.
Right.
And the atomic age of this time that these movies came out was also a population like explosion all over the world. To the point that I'm not sure the numbers, but I know it went from a lot to a little too much.
Right. Darn baby boomers.
I know. Baby boomers' parents. It was baby boomers' parents.
Well, that's true. It's the parents that had them. Right. That's true. Yeah.
That's why they're called the baby boomers. They're part of that boom. That boom was the thing, and Godzilla is like the writer. I mean, I'm not 100% sure. I've never read articles about it or books about it or anything. But the way I look at it is the writer going, okay, something has to control the population. Something has to make it where we don't get so big. And what does that but a scary thing that could potentially be a good thing? There's never a Godzilla is bad because he goes around and destroys things. But he doesn't have like this malevolence about it. It's just what he's doing. Right.
So there's no malice.
Yeah. It's like a lion eating an antelope. It's not that the lion wants to hurt the antelope. It's just his duty to do so. in order to survive.
Right.
And
He's hungry.
yeah. So Godzilla, I've always looked at Godzilla as a benevolence that has to do bad things to create a better world.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting because I also looked at Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. I just love that one also. That one's awesome.
Well, that is like the complete point of that.
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla is nature's way of keeping things in balance.
Right.
And humans want to control that.
Right. That's true.
And we can't. It's not what we're not supposed to.
Well, we can take responsibility for what we can do, and that's about it. So do you want to stop and do another section later, or do we want to keep going?
You know what? Let's keep going. I don't have a lot on these, and I
all right.
What we're going to talk about, because they're more modern, and we don't have to discuss all the little things about it. And then we will talk about doing a special, though. I like the idea of doing a special.
I like that also. We'll figure out what we'll do. Yeah. I kind of have an idea. So, all right. Okay.
That's why he's
all right. So on our modern, where are we going first, Ace?
So I'm going to go with 1976. And the reason this is the modern one is just because there's so many great classic ones of this. Mm-hmm. And this is King Kong, 1976.
My first Kong.
It was a lot of people's first Kong. It wasn't my first, but I watched it within the same week as I watched the older ones.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that week. My mom introduced me to King Kong in a week. Like I had a King Kong. I know, because I was born in 76, so I was a baby when this one came out, or I wasn't
right.
I'm not sure. I think I wasn't born yet. I think it was a summer blockbuster, and I was born in winter. But I think it was like around kindergarten, so 1981.
Yeah.
My mom, we would do movie night on Saturdays, and then it would extend into Sundays if there were a lot of them. So that's how I got introduced to King Kong. That's how I got introduced to Godzilla. That's how I got
introduced
to, a lot of things. This one is not my favorite King Kong. However, it had to go on the list because it is the first of the the expressions of King Kong. And I say that when I say that before it was so claymation and puppets and stuff. This one gave him facial expressions and nuances. I love the nuance and acting.
Yep.
And it made him a character, not just a creature. He had a heart. He had feelings that were so noticeable. Jeff Bridges, Jessica Lange, like you can't go wrong with them. Like they were like beautiful people at the time.
Yeah, Jessica Lange is wow. Yeah.
See, I knew. I'd say Jessica Lange and Professor would be like,
see, there you
go. But no, it had to be on my list, just because it is Kong, and I didn't put Kong on my older one because I knew you would have it. I knew you would have it.
Well, and wanted to mention the one from the 2000s. That's actually a pretty good Kong movie also. Yep. I love that it's black and white. It kind of goes back to the original feel of a lot of stuff. I really liked that movie. So it's not on my list, but it was one that I'm like, that's a great movie also. We have 3 really good Kong movies that are before you even get to the Kong Island, which is amazing in itself.
It almost made my list.
Yeah.
Kong Skull Island almost made my list. If Kong versus Godzilla would have come out,
Yep.
and I would have seen it, I bet it would have been on my list.
I'm with you because I'm so bated breath. Yeah.
I want to see that so bad. It's like
I'm with you completely. So. All right. Well, that's a good one. That's a very good one. I saw that on your list and went, oh, that's really funny since I went with the old one. You went with that one. I'm going to go. We were talking about sometimes you have horror comedy. And
Yes.
so I'm going to go with a horror comedy, a blockbuster horror comedy from the mid 80s. Who are you going to call? Ghostbuster. This movie, I love it. It's a great ghost movie. I love the whole are you a god? Well, no. Then die.
Think about this movie in just pop culture. You say Slimer, you immediately go Ghostbusters.
Yep.
You say Stay Puft, and you immediately go Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is one of those movies, and the sequel included, and then the one that's coming up, not the girl sequel. We won't talk about that one.
I didn't hate that movie.
I'm all for girl power, and I actually didn't hate that movie as much as a lot of people did.
Right.
I just didn't like the movie for what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be pre-launch.
Right.
And I didn't want that. I am really excited about the new one coming out, which is a continuation.
Right.
They should have done that to the beginning of that. But Ghostbusters is one of those movies that people quote all the time. I
am the keymaster. Are you the gatekeeper?
Right. Oh my gosh. And it had a theme song. This is
a great theme song.
Songs. A theme song for a movie, and not just a theme song for a movie. If you start singing this theme song, and I won't do that to you guys because they don't sing. If you start singing this theme song today, you know everyone in the room's gonna go Ghostbusters.
Right. You pull up to a stoplight with this playing, and everybody's looking at you and singing along with you. Yeah.
That shows you the power of that movie. I love that pick. Great pick.
Well, and I mean the cast in itself is amazing. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Raines. That movie. Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, and Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis.
Oh my
Perfect.
God. Yes. Raines is one of those actors that people don't give as much credit to, but he was the driving force behind this movie.
Yeah, right.
And without him, you wouldn't have Ghostbusters. I can't even imagine a world without Ghostbusters. I'm not gonna lie.
I agree.
Slime. Like it's a river of slime. It's the library scene, the court scene, all of those things. No, it's great, and I think that to not have it on a list, and like I said, comedy horror is a thing.
Yeah.
This was not like a scary movie, but it had scary. If you were a kid watching this, which I was, it had parts of it where you jumped.
Right. Most definitely. The end scene is terrifying when you're young. I showed it to my 12-year-old daughter at the time. She's now 19. Showed it to her when she was 12. She had nightmares for a week because of it. I'm like, come on, girl. I failed here. Now my son, I don't think would have any. My son's seen it and he's fine with it. But all right. So yeah. So what's our next one, Ace?
Let's go. We're gonna keep going with this like 1980s something things. We're gonna go with a movie that not everyone I know has seen, but they should. We showed it to Lex. She loved it. And I love classic monsters.
Yes.
He has all of the classic monsters.
Yes, it does.
The 1987 Monster Squad. Oh my God. Look at that. It is the Universal Monsters brought back in the 80s.
Yep.
It is a beautiful thing. And what is great about it is they're not the bad guys.
Right.
It shows the nuances of their characters. It shows the beauty of that character in history. And it's funny. And I mean, the Wolfman's got nards. Like,
right.
That line is hilarious.
It is.
The little girl, you still get your Frankenstein with the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
You You'll get that, but it's got a little bit better ending for him. I mean, it doesn't, but it does. Like he gets that moment where you know he's a good guy, and he knows
Right.
you know he's a good guy.
Right.
That movie is so good and bad at the same time. The special effects are terrible. Even for the 80s, 87,
Right.
special effects are terrible. It's a kids movie.
Right.
Another one that almost made my list is the same way. But this one topped it. I had to put this one on the list just because I love those classic monsters. And this movie was about bringing their stories into a whole new generation.
Right.
And bringing them into an aspect that wasn't just they're going to kill you.
Right.
I love that movie. So
Oh, that is a fun movie. I'm right there with you. That was on my extended list of ones that I was considering. Great movie. So yeah, it's kid friendly, which finding out good. I mean, a lot of the monster movies aren't bad for that, but it's not too scary. And the kids are the heroes, so you get that whole thing. So yeah, it's great. I'm all for that one. So right.
The one that it kicked off, just as honorable mention, was Little Monsters.
Little Monsters, yes.
Howie Mandel.
Yep. But that's a good one too.
This one had to top it.
All right. That's great. That's a good one. I'm right there with you. So I'm going to go one of the more current ones we're going to talk about.
Okay.
And when the trailer for this movie came out and I saw this, and of course posted to GeekyKOOL, my thought was, holy crap, you added two of my favorite things together. How can I not love this movie? And it is Pacific Rim. Giant robots versus kaiju. Dude, I'm in. I don't care how bad it is. I'm watching this because it's giant robots versus kaiju.
I love how you're like, I don't even care if it's bad.
Yeah. The second one, okay. The second one's okay. It's not great, but the first one is amazing. I love the anime feel to it because they shot it very much like an anime movie with live people. And I just love this movie to death. I love the kooky, crazy kaijus that they come up with, the way they look, you almost get the man in the suit feel to it, which was done intentionally. Yeah. I just love it. I think they've talked about making more. I hope they do because I've missed
movies so much.
I know.
I just wanted to
make movies. Exactly. This is truly a love story to both the kaijus and also to the Robotech sort of stuff from Japimation, and it's just I love it. So.
No, I like that pick. I wouldn't have put that one on my list. It doesn't click as monster movie to me for some reason. It is, but it's not one that I think of when I automatically think of monster.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily focus on the monsters as much. Yeah. But the monsters are there, and they're the whole driving force of it. So.
No, I like it.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good. All right.
I didn't think about it.
Well, what do you got next for us?
So we're gonna go kooky, and I'm talking.
All right. I like kooky.
One of the kookiest movies I've ever seen in my whole entire life, and that has to be Saturday the 14th. Oh my God! so funny, and so bad. Like, a family inherits a house that is haunted. Dracula and a bunch of vampires are trying to get into the house to get stuff from the house, and you think they're the bad guys, and then there's like all these other things going on, and there's like a book, and there's like werewolves, and the mom becomes she gets bit by a bat, and there's sharks in the bathtub, and the like creature from the Black Lagoon like looking thing, and it is just so bad that I love it.
Right. It made in response to Friday the 13th movies, to where the 14th.
Friday the 13th was bad. Wait till you see Saturday the 14th. It's terrible. It is don't go watch it and go, AJ's lost her flipping mind. This is a bad movie. Because I will usually tell you, like, these are great movies with great actors and great stories. This one is not. But it's fun. And it's a monster.
Right. Well, and it's about having a good time. It really is. It's just like we talked about with the sci-fi movies of the week. You're going to get a horrible movie.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
So terrible that they're ridiculous. And when you have a bad movie that becomes ridiculous, and
yes.
you know they meant to be ridiculous.
Right.
I'm not talking about the bad movies, and God bless those people who make movies who think that they're great, but when you watch them, they're ridiculous. No,
right.
These are movies that are made by people who know that they are ridiculous. Even
right.
the title, Saturday the 14th, even the title lets you know they're not taking anything
right.
too seriously.
Right, exactly.
That movie is so bad that it's funny.
I agree.
You should watch it. It's yeah.
Go in with your popcorn and just say, what kind of craziness am I going to see now?
Yeah,
and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, you'll see it all. Like, you have everything.
I agree. I agree. So we're going to go from Saturday the 14th, which is just intentionally kooky, to a blockbuster monster movie that took the world by storm and made us wonder what would happen if we cloned dinosaurs.
Oh, thank God you put this one on there, because I love this movie.
Yeah.
And I put it on my list. I love everything about this movie. I even love the sequel.
Yes.
I even love part 3. Not quite as good.
Right.
And I love the Jurassic World series.
They have been great so far. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the new movie, which again got postponed because of, thank you, coronavirus.
Thanks a lot, COVID. Just saying. I really love movies again. Did you see that AMC is offering where you can rent the theater for $99?
Yes.
20 people. Did you see that Jurassic Park, the original, is one of the movies you could watch?
No. That would be so worth it.
I know. I'm like,
if you could get 20 people to chip in, I mean, that's nothing. That's $5.
I am literally willing to pay $100 to go see it with like 10 to 15 of my closest friends.
Yeah.
Friends, I'm sorry. I mean, I have 20 people I know, but not that live close enough by me. So, it's one of those.
I would love that. That would be amazing. But yes,
a geeky cool thing.
That would be awesome. We could do a geeky cool thing. Yeah, for $100, that's worth it. So
seriously, I'm so thrilled. That's such a great movie.
Yeah,
Bloom.
And he's right. Jeff Goldblum. Now one of his movies that did not make the list, but is, well, it's an alien movie, so it's sort of monster. What?
Earth Girls Are Easy?
Earth Girls Are Easy.
I did that whole write-up on GeekyKOOL.
Yeah.
Easy. I love that movie.
Gina Davis, Jeff Goldblum.
Goldblum.
Yes, that's it.
Goldblum, Damon Wayans.
Yes, Damon Wayans. Yes.
Jim Carrey before.
That's right.
Blew up big, and then you of course have the DJ, the BJ.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
A great theme song and a couple of other good songs in there. So yeah. I love those. Those are great. What is her name? I'm trying to think of it because she's the one who did Homecoming Queen's Got a Gun. Julie Brown. That's right. Not to be confused with the MTV Downtown Julie Brown. Different Julie Brown.
There's Downtown Julie Brown, and then there was Julie Brown. And what was weird is they were both on MTV.
Yes, they were.
Which is weird. But this is the redhead. She's usually a redhead. Sometimes she's a blonde. But this is the redhead kooky one that was like Cyndi Lauper-ish type of person.
That sings the song, I'm a Blonde.
I'm a blonde.
Anyway, I love those kind of kooky 80s songs. So, all right. But I love the 80s. So there we go. All right. So moving on from the blockbuster, what do you got for us?
Well, another blockbuster, and this one is one that is getting a whole bunch of new toys coming out with it. With NECA, NECA released a whole bunch of them, and that is, of course, the 1984. Sorry, I had to look at the year. I knew it was 85 or 84. 1984 Gremlins.
Yep.
Gizmo. Fight.
So,
Beer drinking. Like, that movie is terrible and wonderful. Like, the story is so out there.
right.
Like, I watched it. We just watched it a couple weeks ago or something, and I'm like, I love that movie. I do. And then you watch it, and you're like, this story is just weird.
Yes. Well, and then why didn't they create more of themselves when they walk through the snow?
Thank you. No, it's things like, oh my God. Okay, yes. Okay, you literally, you reproduce and create babies when you have water dropped on you. Okay, fine. But you're walking through snow, which is just water.
It's so cold it's not melting. Anyway.
But it's so fun. One of my favorite parts of that movie, though, is literally the Snow White scene when they're all in the theater. Hi ho,
Yes.
hi ho.
Hi
And
ho.
all the gremlins are like just sitting there watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I wanted to ask, and I asked you, I was like, I wonder how much they had to pay Disney
Right.
to show Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Gremlins.
Right. I'm sure they had to pay. Right.
But that story is just so weird and so out there. And then part 2 was, the storyline was still terrible.
Even more, right? Yeah.
Oh my God, so bad. So bad.
Did I tell you what I did to my son last year?
No.
So,
what did you do?
Well, Gremlins is happening during what season?
Right.
So my son, I love him to death. He's an avid Christmas guy. He would have Christmas music and movies on 24/7 for 365. I mean, 365. See, he just loves Christmas so much. And so last year, about a week before Christmas, I said, son, watch this Christmas movie with me. And so he sits down and he's like, okay. I'm like, look, see, that's it. Look how cute he is. That's a gift. I mean, Gizmo's the gift. Isn't that cute? Well, what just happened? My son's going, what are you showing me? Now, he doesn't get scared like his sister did, but he starts going, what in the world kind of Christmas movie is this? I'm like, this is a great Christmas movie. It's up there with Die Hard.
Wait, I have a question for you. And this is just a parent, because we literally, oh no, that's what it was. We went and seen Gremlins on the big screen.
Yeah.
When it was playing in Branson, and we took Lex. And you know when she starts talking about her dad being stuck in the chimney? Because Lex is 9, and so we're still doing that whole thing. And so I had to actually literally, we knew it was coming, and I was like, I'm going to take her to the bathroom. So I'm like, Lex, let's go to the bathroom. So we walked out of the theater at that point, and then we came back. Like after the story, did he listen to the story?
He did. He kind of ignores some of that now. He's figured out the full understanding of it, and I try to make it about, this is actually, this is about the spirit of Santa Claus and how we need to give to other people, how that makes us feel good, and so that's why we use Santa Claus and all that. But he's figured that out. But he didn't know last year. But he did listen. But at that point, it was kind of like if anybody kind of is being skeptical, they kind of get pushed over to the side. So he was okay with it.
That part though, because that movie came out in 1984.
Yeah,
I was 8. That movie is the reason I question that. I'm not lying.
No, I understand.
I saw that movie probably in 85 because it came out on VHS and rented it from the theater or from the video store, because my mom would not let us see that, because the little green creatures figured we'd have nightmares.
Right.
But we watched it, and it was summertime, and then by the time Christmas came around, I was like, how, what? And it was all about gremlins. It took me months to figure everything out. But yeah. But I love that movie. That movie has so many great little like funny things in it. The smoking. Other thing. The beer.
Yeah.
So you can't get them wet. You can't get them water because they might get wet, but they can drink beer.
Well, it's drinking on the inside, not drinking.
Yeah, but they were
because you drink water, but it's the reaction to the skin, not the.
But they were splashing beer everywhere.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just trying. I don't know.
You can't. You cannot. I challenge you guys.
It has to be pure water. That's why Snare doesn't work. It's frozen.
Some soda. Don't worry about it. We'll just bathe Gizmo in soda.
That would work. The aspartame may affect them. I don't know. All right. All right. That's a great pick. Gremlins was on my list. It wasn't in my top 5 here, but it was on my list. I love Gremlins. Such a great movie. Like I said, I'm so demented that I did that to my son. I'm kind of proud of myself, but also felt guilty a bit, but also like, you know what? You'll live with it.
That's A+ parenting right there. I'm just saying.
Well, all I know is if you're going to watch Christmas movies and be all about it, here you go. Didn't show him Die Hard yet, but waiting a couple more years for Die Hard. But yippee-ki-yay.
He's getting there, though.
He is. Well, and accidentally let him watch John Wick. So
did that affect him?
No.
Accidentally.
Well, I thought it was PG-13, and I'm like, oh, this is not PG-13. But he was really wanting to watch it because of the car. He's such a car guy already, and so I'm like, okay, all right. My wife would have stopped it. I just kept letting it go. So.
Does she watch these? Does Michelle watch these videos? Because
no, she doesn't. She doesn't. No.
You're like, no.
So my next 2 movies are also 80s movies.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with this one next, and then my last one will be up here. But here's a movie that I think is the top vampire movie of all time. That's Lost Boys. I love this movie.
I saw that at the movies this summer too.
That's a great movie. Interestingly, so far that's been our only vampire movie, other than yours with Saturday the 14th. I mean,
I know,
but
we touched base on a lot of vampire movies, like
we did
20s, 30s, and 40s. Lost Boys was on my extended list. I love that movie. You can't beat the Coreys in the 80s.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
That's true.
The Frog Brothers. I was like such a nerdy girl. I was like, I would hang out with the Frog Brothers. They would have been like my best friends if they would have hung out with a girl.
Right.
The only girl in the show
in the comic shop.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
The only girl in the show almost is like, well, Diana Weiss as the mom, and then Jamie Gertz. Like literally, there's no other girl in the show.
That's true.
There's no nerdy girl, but I feel like I should have been a Frog Brother. I feel like I would have been honored.
I can see that. Yeah.
You gotta love it. It is it's funny. It doesn't take itself seriously. We did discover watching it on the big screen because I'd only watched it on TV from VHS tapes and stuff, but watching it on the big screen, and I told everyone this and nobody believed me, and then they went and watched it, is Lost Boys is the reason we have glittery vampires. It's not Twilight. Because when they kill the vampire in the cave, the Frog Brothers are covered in glitter. So don't
but they're not the vampires aren't sparkly when the light shines on them.
But you don't see them out in the daytime.
Well, as you aren't supposed to, because it will kill them.
I understand. But if they're sparkly when you kill them, and their blood is all glitter, or their bodies are all glitter, they probably sparkle in the sun.
As they burn to a crisp. So the other thing, great soundtrack on this one. Had a couple really cool, creepy songs, but awesome songs. And I mean, it's not Ghostbusters, but there's when those songs come on, I'm like, oh, we're talking Lost Boys here. And Lost Boys, I mean, it's not super scary, but you got your moments. That cave scene can be a little intense, and when they attack the house, that's pretty intense.
The house is very much intense. Yeah. The fight between Jason Priestley's character and Kiefer Sutherland's character, David, was very much the scariest part of that movie for me.
Right.
Now,
agreed.
It's still jump. I still jump a couple times. It's still a jump thing.
Right.
Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Priestley, or not Priestley. Jason, it wasn't Priestley. It's the other one.
Yeah.
Dang it! Why can't I think of it? But Kiefer Sutherland alone, amazing, and but it's just Jamie Gertz. You know how many guys I knew who were like, I liked her from Solar Babies.
Yeah, Solar Babies, great. Yeah.
And Stand By Me with Kirk Cameron. I don't know if you've ever seen that show. I love that show.
Stand By Me? Listen to Me. Okay, yeah. No, Listen to Me is great. Yes. With
the debate team. But Lost Boys is amazing. It's one of those shows, though, it's quintessential 80s. There is no denying every aspect of that movie is 80s. Well, mom's clothes. The bad guy's clothes. The boys' clothes.
The motorcycles are all riding.
Everything. Yeah. The only thing that's not specifically 80s in that movie, which is weird, and I always found it interesting, was Jamie Gertz's outfit is very like hippie.
Mm-hmm.
And then the little boy vampire is he looks like he could have come out of like the 1700s. When I first watched that movie, and it was I had known enough about vampires, I thought that he was the father. I thought he was the creator because he looked like he was dressed in the clothes that were the oldest. I think that would have been a really cool story.
That would have been interesting. I agree. Yeah.
No, I like that story.
So when I think vampire movie, that's where I go to. There's some other great ones that I enjoy, but
Queen of the Damned was not horrible. It was not great, but the book was better. Interview with a Vampire. I hate Tom Cruise. You know that. You know how much I hate Tom Cruise. But Kirsten Dunst in that kind of made that movie for me as a little girl. And I am not a huge Brad Pitt fan. I mean, I've met Brad Pitt. You know, his family's from Springfield. I've met him a couple times, long time ago before he became famous. But he's pretty good in that movie. So
yeah, he is. Underworld. I love the Underworld movie. Also made my extended list. I mean, you get Vampires Against Werewolves. I mean, that's pretty awesome. So and I mean,
American Werewolf.
In London.
Yeah, almost made my list. Didn't quite get there. The Fly with Jeff Goldblum almost made my list. There are so many that almost made my list, and I just wanted to make this list because it's monsters. I wanted to make it fun. I wanted to make it some obscure and some just like cute but creepy, things too. So
right. Well, we still have one more piece to get to, and then we can kind of give some of our other extended lists, because I've got several extended lists that I was kind of surprised. It's 5, so things aren't going to make the list. But you're like, oh man, I could do 50 easily. This is a hard one. So, all right. So, what's your last one for us?
So, my number one modern monster movie is no surprise to anyone. is Godzilla, the King of Monsters. Beautiful. The thing with Godzilla, the one before this, was there's very little Godzilla in it.
Right.
This one, there's very little people in it.
Right, that's true.
And when you think about it, the story's not about the people in this one. The story's about the monsters. It's the King
Right.
of Monsters. It is a fight
Right.
between monsters and the different factions of monsters.
Right.
The monsters alone are just stunning. Every single one of them.
Agreed.
When Godzilla does his like up and the blue light and he all radiates and stuff. That right there is stunning. Mothra, this is my favorite Mothra of all time.
And that says a lot.
I know. When I saw her come onto the screen, I almost cried because she was everything I had ever wanted Mothra to be.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a badass.
She is.
She really is. And the relationship between her and Godzilla, they've really never really explored it in a way that they've done in this movie. They hinted about it, he's the king of monsters and she's the queen of monsters. That has been said several times.
Right.
But this protective, motherly love that she shows for him.
Right.
And the way that she goes about that in this movie is just, it's beautiful. Actors are not bad. It's not like they're great. They're not as important as the monsters.
Right.
And that I think makes this movie something special. It's not about people reacting to the monsters as much as it is about the monsters reacting to the people and what they do to the earth. And that is just, I don't know. This movie, when I saw it, I had to see it twice, one right after another, just because I was afraid I missed so much, because visually it was so stunning.
Right.
That I missed a lot of the movie. And if you haven't seen it and you are a Godzilla fan, or even if you're just a monster fan, please go see this. I've had people tell me they won't see the new Godzillas and the new King Kongs because of the 90s Godzilla with Matthew Broderick, which was not as bad as everybody said, but it wasn't.
No, it's not.
But I have a fly flying around me and I'm thinking Jeff Goldblum.
Help me.
No,
you would find a way to help him. I know. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That would not be a problem.
You wouldn't swat him.
I would never swat Jeff Goldblum away. I'm just telling you right now, he is just wonderful. Everything about him. But Godzilla is one of those iconic characters.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie did it justice to the point of no return. It took the stories that I had in my head and blew them up and expanded them in a way that I didn't think was possible. And the creatures, all of them, even the ones they barely touch base on, is wonderful. And if you haven't gone and seen it, or if you haven't seen it, go see it or rent it or whatever on streaming, or find it on streaming, and then pay attention at the end, because the end shows you all these different articles about how they are restoring the earth. Right.
That's exactly right. It's a really cool movie. It was on my list of, it barely missed off my top 5 because it is amazing. As a Godzilla fan, this was everything I was hoping for.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so many times you get that expectation of taking a modern adaptation of something you love and it's dashed against the ground, or you're like, that just didn't do quite what I wanted it to. It wasn't terrible, but I didn't love it as much.
Yeah.
Rodan in this, I think is a great bad monster, is really cool. Yeah.
or an antagonist. He's a great antagonist too.
He's a great antagonist.
Being the
Yeah.
protagonist. And the thing is he's not evil either.
No.
This movie is not about evil. This movie is about power and restoring balance, and who is going to actually restore the balance.
Right. In what process?
Yeah.
At what level? Because I mean, you could destroy all humanity on the earth, and that would bring balance back, but a little overkill.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Or, maybe it is. I don't know. Sometimes.
So we're gonna go with my final one that I listed, and then we can hit some of those that we wanted to include but weren't included. But all I can say is, game over, man. Game over. Talking about aliens.
Yeah, you have to.
Right. One of the coolest monsters of all time are the xenophobes. I said that wrong. I'm like, that's not it, because those aren't cool at all. No. Anyway, but the aliens, the alien mother, face suckers, yeah.
Huggers.
The face.
Yeah.
But and when you've got a second set of teeth that comes out beyond your set of teeth to get you, I mean that's really cool. And Ripley is an amazing protagonist. I love in this movie how she's basically like, guys, this is a bad idea. Let's nuke the whole thing. Let's just nuke it. No, we can handle it. And
Of course.
All I can say is game over, man. Game over. I love that. So.
Oh, you can't. You have to have aliens as monsters. They're monsters. Now they're not your traditional monsters, but they're monsters, and that's the whole thing. Is this when I was making my list, I had to take some off that were more horror, just because I wanted them to still be for my horror for next week and for movies. And there are ones, and everybody's gonna be like coming at us, and I know Dakota or Spoo are gonna watch this. If they watch this, and they'll be like, you did not mention the one that you should have mentioned, but it's coming on my list next week. So,
and you know what it is.
I do know what it is.
So do they.
No, it's funny though, because it's really difficult when you do lists like this, because there are so many that fit into that category, but not quite. Right. That you push into that category, and it's like a little odd, but it is what it is. We try to our hardest, so that's all
we do, and we're actually giving lists of some of our favorite things. So we're looking at this and trying to figure out, where do we rank them? How do we pull them in? So if something didn't make our list that you think should have, let us know in the comments below. Yeah. And let us know on GeekyKOOL. Make sure to comment about it. So let me give you my list of things we left off, and you can give me yours. At the top of my list that almost was there, and I couldn't find a way to make it work, Army of Darkness.
Oh, such a good movie.
Yeah. I'm not a big Evil Dead 1 and 2 guy, but Army of Darkness is so funny, and I love Bruce Campbell, that I'm like, oh, that movie is so awesome. There's so many great skeleton monsters, and even the reflection of himself monster. I mean, that whole thing is just awesome. So,
one that didn't make my list, but has monsters, and they have mythology, which I love. I'm a huge mythological studies person, and that would be Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
Two Percy Jacksons. And I know they're supposed to be kids movies, but they have Medusa, and they have Poseidon, and they have all of these. I love them so much. It's very Clash of the Titans, and
yes.
Hercules and Xena. Like if we had TV shows, those would be on there. But no, Percy Jackson has some great monsters and some very unique villains. So yeah,
agreed. Well, they're talking about making a Percy Jackson series. So
well, and I think they should, because I love Dylan O'Brien as Percy, and I love that whole thing. But he was too old. He was
Right.
Percy Jackson in the books as a kid. He's not
Right.
not like 16.
Right.
He's
Right.
like 12, I think, or something like that. So, yeah. Speaking of that, I'll go to another one just because it's just on that same vein, and that's Harry Potter.
Yeah. Yes.
The Harry Potter has some great monsters. So
it does. Yeah, I didn't even think Harry Potter, but you're right. I mean, there's always even the creatures that get trained, and
they're not horror, but the Basilisk was scary. The giant spiders are scary. Like it has
very much so.
Creatures. It's just
right.
not written as a horror, but
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, in that same genre, Lord of the Rings does the same thing, just a different type of fantasy there. And talk about giant spiders. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That one's way scarier than the Harry Potter one.
Yeah, I agree. So, also on my list, I did include I talked about Underworld and Gremlins, Predator with Arnold, the original, not the sequel. Even though I didn't hate the sequel, but the original one, that Predator creature's awesome. Yeah,
I love Predators, just like Arnold. I think the Predators are amazing. One that didn't make my list, the Silver Bullet.
That's a good one. Yeah, not really very scary, but a really kind of interesting monster movie.
But it's such a psychological.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's got the werewolf, but not like you don't see the monster
right
throughout, and stuff.
Right.
And so it's that kind of movie, and that sometimes are the scariest monsters are sometimes the ones you don't see as very much. So.
Well, the birds don't even show up to the very last 30 minutes of the movie, The Birds. So, like, what is going on? Like, oh, this is going to happen. Nope, not yet. Okay. The movie that we're probably going to take some hits for missing on the list is 1982's The Thing.
Yes.
That's a tremendous movie. It was a remake, but considered to be far superior to the original 1950s version. So
there's so many from like that genre of remakes from the 50s.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's really, really hard. I can tell you like the worst ones.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But like you've got to take them for what they are. I do like The Thing. It's not my favorite. It would probably be like on 20 or around there. It's
sure.
good. It's just not it didn't grab me as much as some of the stuff. But no, it's still a great movie. And it's got the monster, so
well, in looking at a list of monsters just to kind of see kind of where I was at, it was at the top of almost every list out there. And I thought, I like this movie, but it wasn't one of those that was just the thing for me. So, but So we didn't forget you guys that are big fans that are going, how can you leave that off the list? But
it made the list, but it didn't, and that's the problem. Like we're trying to narrow it down and everything. Like we didn't do because I don't know if I consider them monsters. We didn't do the witches.
Yeah.
Movies, no witch movies. Like Hocus Pocus, anybody who knows me knows I love Hocus Pocus. And technically they're not, but they're not monsters. And so I really tried to stick with like monsters or creatures with the theme of this and stuff like that. So.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I didn't even think about witches, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard when you got so many great things out there. So, another one, Pitch Black.
Yeah.
Which is a great movie if people have not seen it. The sequel was The Chronicles of whatever it was. Can't remember but it was cool. But the original Pitch Black is amazing. Cloverfield.
Cloverfield is amazing. Blade.
Yeah.
The Blade.
Yeah. For our vampires that we barely touched on there. Trimmers. 1990s Trimmers.
It is literally written down. It was one of those I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Kevin Bacon, people. Reba McEntire and Forget who else, but the
Michael, I can't think of his last name, but he was the dad off Family Ties.
yes.
It's Michael something, but I can't think of his last name. No, great show. Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Yes. With the ghosts.
Well, you have the ghost, but you have the sandworms.
Right, you do.
And so that one.
The doctor's office with
waiting room with it's just a great movie, and yeah, so there are things that we would love to put on these lists and everything like that. So just
could make my horror movie list. I don't know.
I'll tell you something. When he turned into the snake on the
janitor,
that scared the bejeebus out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's not unscary at all, for sure.
Right.
So
it's one of those things that's a kid. It's like you can watch it with your kids, but they're gonna jump. There's gonna be a part.
They definitely are. The Quiet Place or A Quiet Place.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that.
That I haven't seen.
You've not seen it yet? I recommend it. So if you, the sequel is supposed to be coming out, but the movie is good. It's really good.
It's on my list. There are so many there's so many bad movies I could have put on the list.
I'm with you.
But no, that is it's on my list. I really do want to watch it. It's just I have to be in the mood for certain movies, and that's one of the movies that I think I have to be in the mood for, and I haven't had time to be in the mood for it.
You're a little tired. You're a little worked. You know, the thing that we didn't touch on monster-wise at all was zombie movies.
I know. And I thought about this. The problem I have with zombie movies is that there's so many of them. One. Two, it's one of those things that it's really hard to narrow down to one.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me what my favorite Godzilla movie is, I can tell you. If you ask me what my favorite zombie movie is, I can't quite tell you. I can tell you. What's your favorite?
Night of the Living Dead. The original.
The original.
The original is so cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. But that's a problem. It's there's so many that are so cool. The I Am Legend.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
With their zombie, they're scary because they're quick.
Right.
They're quick. It's one of those things that we try to touch base on, on the horror and all the monsters and stuff like that. We just can't get them all.
Can't get them all.
Yeah, we can't.
I know. So that was the last one on my list was Night of the Living Dead, because I'm like, man, I remember when I was 15 or 16 and I was at home. Again, it was one of those times where I had on the AMC or whatever, and all of a sudden this comes on. I'm like, oh, let's watch this. And I just get engrossed into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a really cool story. It's all black and white. It's a little scary. And what happens if the dead come to life? Oh, well, that's not a good thing, right?
The last one on my list that was on my extended list didn't quite make it, and I love this movie, and it's The Shape of Water.
Oh yeah.
And it's totally a creature movie. It's not quite a monster movie. I do love the way it's filmed. I love the color scheme of it and the soundtrack and again, if you guys have listened to this at all, you'll know that I really appreciate actors who can act without speaking.
Right.
And of course, she does a beautiful job doing that. And that movie is just stunning in so many ways. And so I had to have it. It was on my extended list too. So don't think I forgot about it. Because I know
that's a great one also. Yeah.
Movie.
And again, another one where the creature isn't the bad guy.
No, the humans are the bad guys.
Yeah,
if you've seen a lot of these movies, the humans are the bad guys.
Yeah, most of the time.
They're not great as a species.
It kind of speaks to things. I mean, especially, here we are a couple weeks away from Election Day, and we're talking about monster movies. I don't know.
Well, if they always have election day right after Halloween. Scariest day of the year is not October 31st. It's in
Not at
November.
all. And that's out there for everybody. That's not one political party or another. It's just
Hey, he didn't even say which political party we were part of. So.
no, because I'm not really a part of any of them.
I know who I vote for. That's pretty much it. And sometimes I vote for people on parties. So
I can't say the last time I voted for everybody in the same party. I may have done that my first time voting at 18, but after that, it's been a mixed bag because I'm looking at people. I don't care your party association. I want to know what kind of person you are and
so,
what.
I do agree, though. The scariest movie ever is being played out right now.
It really is. It's
this year, 2020. I feel like we're all like cast in some kind of really weird movie that God is putting on. Like I feel like he's like, okay.
I feel like we're kind of in Cabin in the Woods, which is another monster movie of sorts. So it's definitely a horror movie. But the whole idea that people are betting on what's going to happen because people have started doing that. And it's like, okay, which creature or what problem is going to happen here that's going to cause this? What in the world?
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing going on.
No doubt.
I think
But talking about politics just for a second, did you see Alice Cooper? He put out a video.
I haven't seen the video, but people did send it to me. I just haven't had time to watch it. So, but I did see that he's put out.
I'm like, dude, if he was serious, I'm voting for Alice Cooper because if I could vote for an old white guy, at least it could be Alice Cooper. The best of two evils, best of three. Here we go. This one's better than your two evils.
Oh my goodness! I mean, true. Like, he knows how to put on a show. That's all.
He does. And actually, I've heard he's just a really nice guy. So, but I saw that video and I just laughed and I'm like, okay, yeah, I would definitely vote Alice Cooper.
I mean, if he was actually on the ballot, I probably would too.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't do any worse than the two that we have on the ballot. And
we might, but it would be hard to do.
It's like choosing. To me, it is like choosing between eating something really disgusting and drinking something really disgusting. Both of them are going to make you sick. Right.
Yeah, and that I understand that. That's probably why I'm voting for somebody who has no chance of winning. So
you know who you're voting for.
She's very smart, but anyway. But not to get politics. I don't care who you guys vote for. We do have election day coming up in a couple weeks, so vote your conscience, do whatever, and hopefully vote the end of 2020 so we can get out of this continual horror movie.
Right. Just go out and vote, guys. And that's the thing is like, you can't complain about something you're not willing to make a stand on. And so everybody I know has complained about one or the other or both or something like that. So go out and make your voice be heard. And I don't care what your voice has to say when it comes to that. I do have my opinions. And if you're talking to me personally, I'm going to tell you my opinions and stuff.
Sure.
But my statement to you right now is just go out and vote and make the change that you want to see or keep it the way you want it to be. So
right on. And there you can go out and find what's on the ballot for your county right now. Go do a search, look at your county and state. There's a ballot there. It'll tell you everybody that's on it, so you're not surprised by this judge or that judge or this person running for governor or that person. It's not just about the president. It's about all sorts of things, and you guys be informed. Go check it out before you go and make sure you know who you're going to vote for.
Well, and that's the thing. So many races right now are going on. We haven't really heard about many of them except for the presidential, and that's because everybody's dealing with like Corona. and COVID, COVID, the whole COVID 2020. But just go out there and make sure that you're well informed. Vote your conscience. I would say, even if you've always voted one way, if you aren't feeling it, don't do it. If you vote how you want to see this country to go. And that means voting responsibly and intelligently and knowledgeably. And that means you need to know the information. So,
right. And don't just trust one type of media source, because
don't trust the media source. Not when it comes to literally figure out what it is, because everybody one way or the other at this point. And so, yeah, just go out and do that. But the biggest thing, though, is like, this country is not in a good place right now. We need it to be in a better place.
And you guys can help do that, because the president can only do so much, but everybody has an ability to make things better for each other. So show each other some love and understanding, and know that everybody's having a struggle with 2020, because it sucks. So on that note, we will we'll talk about some of our friends, because we love our friends just like we love you. Thank you guys for watching. But let's talk about our friends that also have cool stuff, that don't just dribble on about politics like we just did. So.
Yeah, we're the boring ones out of our friends. Not even like Professor might know I am.
I don't think you're boring at all, Ace.
Thank you. Everybody else seems to. Okay.
Well, that's their problem, because I think you're flat awesome. So.
So go and check out some of our friends. First ones we want you to check out is go over to Pop Culture Minefield, and that is Gary and Keith, and they are going to give you all kinds of really interesting scoops. They talk about everything that is going on in entertainment and pop culture. They're not PG, so be aware of that before you go over there. If you have kids in the room, you might hear some F-bombs dropped and stuff like that, and some of the stories might not be appropriate for your little ones, but they're funny, they're smart, and they're insightful, and they have been getting some amazing scoops since COVID has happened.
Yeah. One about Spider-Man 3 they had released earlier in the week. So yeah, check them out, because they're awesome. Tell them we said hi. Keith almost came on with us tonight, but he ended up having some other stuff going on. So maybe he'll show up for our special, or for our Halloween horror movie special. So.
Okay. Go over also, guys. Oh, and they're going to be on YouTube, Facebook. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, the like button on Facebook. That lets us know that not only you see us, but you like what we're doing, and that includes us and them. It's just a way for us to know that you guys appreciate what we're doing, and that we need to keep doing it. So,
and that makes us feel good, and makes us want to keep doing it. So please make us feel good.
Okay, head on over also on Facebook and Twitter. You're gonna find our friends Josh and Tim. I adore these guys. They're super funny, and it's Nerd Informants on YouTube and Facebook, and they will do all kinds of amazing reviews and stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have movies, but they're doing some other things, and they also do a weekly live
they do
podcast that they're doing, and they are a couple weeks behind us. Like,
they are
started a little bit, but they did a podcast before we did. But they're really cool guys, and they will talk about everything nerdy. So if you need some nerd in your life, head on over and see them. Tell them we said hi. Remember, give a subscribe, a like, share, do whatever you want to do to support them. So
yeah, they're great guys. We should see if they want to do the horror one, because I think like Tim's is going to be like Snow White, and
Tim is oh my god, did you watch the video that they released like a couple years ago of Tim watching Annabelle?
Yeah,
he screamed like a little girl. Like he does not horror movies at all. So
well, I know that's why it would be fun. That's why I said Snow White may be on his list. It gets really scary at the end with the witch when they're chasing her.
We're not making fun of you. I just think it's adorable. So
some of us might be. It's okay, Tim. We love you though.
Okay.
And I'm not a big horror guy, so there you go. All right.
Now to someone who is a huge horror fan.
Yeah.
And that would be the Scallywag himself over
Arg.
at Scallywag Productions on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Spoo loves horror. And if you guys want to talk about horror, that man will talk about it for hours and hours and hours. Please talk to him about it so I don't have to.
You know, the interesting thing, I just thought of this. My drama teacher had said you shouldn't pronounce it horror because it sounds too much like a horror. You need to say horror.
No, I can't. Let's face it, it's a horror movie, and in the 80s and the 70s, there were a lot of horror in the horror movie.
Well, that was the reason to watch those movies, right? Was the topless scenes you were always going to get?
Slash and boobs. That's all that was about.
I wasn't so happy with the slash, but you know.
But yeah, go check out Scallywag Productions. We are planning on doing some videos. Him and I are going to team up.
Oh, awesome.
Some videos on some, I think he's got an idea in mind, but some unsolved mysteries or some like conspiracy theories and stuff. And I think that might be happening coming up in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, check that out.
Get your tin hats and come on in.
Oh, wait. Hold on. You said it.
Woohoo! How about that?
This is literally hanging in the studio.
I love the tin hat. That's awesome on him. Yeah. Well, it always makes me think of Signs when they get the tin hats and crawl underneath the staircase. And
I made that one for Dakota, one of his friends. He's a musician, and his friends are. One of his friends, Trevor Cash, was doing an album, and they were doing a photo shoot for the cover. And he was like, I really wish I had a tin hat or something. And so I was like, really, you really do? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And so they're in my house getting ready to go on this photo shoot. So I made him this to go on the photo shoot. Awesome. Yeah. It's the thing I do.
It is. You're very creative in coming up with stuff like that. It's amazing.
It literally took like 3 minutes. It's like, it's
yeah,
terrible.
but it doesn't. Not all of us can do that, AJ. That's what you have to understand. I know you and I, when we do things, we're like, oh, that was easy. I did that, whatever. But we have to understand some people can't do the stuff we can do. You would scare people to death to be on the show with us, some of them. So
I was scared to death of being on the show with us.
But look at you now. You're a rock star. But make sure to check us out. Nope, there it is. Check us out on GeekyKOOL.com. We've got some cool stuff being added pretty much daily, sometimes several times a day.
My professor adds everything. I'm not going to lie. He writes a lot of the stuff. I used to, and I just don't have time anymore, and I feel bad about it. But at least I get to do that.
You got to do this. This is an important part of our GeekyKOOL.com is this show. So
we're on GeekyKOOL.com. We have our own website. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Go check us out. Give us likes, subscribe, and be sure to share us with your friends and family if you think that they would like it. If you're interested in writing for us, hit one of us up on Facebook or GeekyKOOL.com on Facebook and stuff. Or you want to come on here and like talk to us about stuff. We are really, really excited about when other people come on and talk, because it gives me a chance not to talk so much.
If you want to be a contributor, you're beyond that. If you are a person who's good at social media, you want a place to do that with, we're happy to talk to you about that. We also, if you want to do videos like this video, you want to have your own video channel with GeekyKOOL, we can definitely talk about that. Anything that you want to do creatively, talking geek nerd, or doing something geek nerd, then do that. We are here to help you facilitate that. We've got a place for you to do that. So those are options out there.
And guys, I know with homeschooling going on and all of that, if you're a student or you have a student that wants to write, as long as they're old enough to do so, they can come on and write and do some stuff like this and everything. And you can use that as credits.
We will help supervise it, give feedback in a positive way, and give you an internship. We are all about doing internships.
Yeah. So go check us out, guys. And my battery is flashing. It's at
Yep.
5%. So I'm going to have to go. And speaking of homeschooling, I got to go teach somebody how to make some chicken strips for homeschool tonight. That's her. That's,
all right.
that's dinner. She's going to make.
Well, that's a good home ec sort of project, so I agree with that. So, all right, guys, stay geeky. We will let you know on what we're going to do as a special in between now and next week's show. Next week's show will be our Halloween. Ooh.
Hey, maybe I'll dress up.
Well, I like that. You should. I don't know what I'll dress up as, but yeah.
I mean, I probably won't dress up as anything. I'll just do some creepy makeup or something.
That would be awesome.
Maybe I'll just make Spoo do my makeup for me. You know,
ooh, I like that.
A haunted house for like 20 years. He was part of a haunted house. So, but yeah.
See, there you go. I did not know that. Yeah. Invite him to join us if he'd like, and see if we can get some other people that'll join us and talk their favorite horror movies. And I've already got my list made, and probably not as scary as some people's.
I don't have my list made yet, but I know my number one. That's all that's where I usually start. So, but
well,
guys, we'll see you next week, or we might see you later this week. So
hopefully so. Check us out. Stay geeky.